We'll be covering simultaneous equations in today's lesson. Um, and we'll be just going through some questions on how to answer them. So the first question here, it says solve the simultaneous equation. As you can see, we have two equations here, and we have two unknowns. So we have one variable which is x and one variable which is y, and we don't know what they are. So we have to work out what x and what is y using these two equations. So the steps involved, generally the first step that we do is we want to either get the x or the y into the same number. So we want to find a common multiple between x or y, and then we can cancel them by either adding the two equations or subtracting the two equations. So in this scenario, I'm just going to focus on the x. So I want to get a number that 3 and 4 both go into, so a common multiple between 3 and 4. So we can see that 12 would be a common multiple. So for the first equation, we'll multiply everything. So what do we need to do to 3 to get to 12? We multiply everything by 4. So the first equation we can multiply by 4. And what do we do to 4x to get to 12x? We multiply by 3. So we multiply this whole equation by 3. So we can rewrite this now, these two equations. So we do 3x times 4, so that's 12x. Then we have 2y times 4, so that's plus 8y. And we have 4 times 4, that becomes 16. And we have 4 times 3 here, so that's 12x. So notice now how these two are the same. So we have the same number here. We do 5y times 3, so that becomes 15y. And we have 17 multiplied by 3, and that is just 51. Now we can cancel. So remember how before I said we can either add or subtract these two equations. So over here, what do we want to get this x to 0. So what do we need to do to 12x to get to 0? We take away 12x. So here we minus. So we get 12 minus 12. That just becomes 0x. So we have 8 take away 15y. So 8y take away 15y. That's just going to give us negative 7y. We're going to have 16 take away 51, and that's just going to be minus 35. So over here we can see we have 7y minus 35, and we divide each side by minus 7, so we have 35 over 7. Remember, two negatives become a positive, so that's why we have 35, positive 35 over positive 7, and therefore y is, well, 35 divided by 7 is 5. So we have y is equal to 5. So that's our first answer. Now we can sub that y into the first equation to give our x. So if we do that, we have 12x plus 8 times by y. So we know y is 5 now. So we can multiply that by 5, which is equal to 16. Then what we do is we have an equation here. So now we can solve to find x. So we have 12x, well, 8 times 5 is 40, and that's equal to 16. We take 40 to the right side, so therefore we have 12x is 16, take away 40, and 12x, well, 16 take away 40, that's just going to give us minus 24, and we divide both sides by 12, so x is minus 2, and that's our second answer. So we have x is negative 2 and y is 5. So x is negative 2 and y is 5. So we'll move on to question number 2 now. So question number 2 says solve these two equations. So we can, like before, we need to eliminate one of these. So we need to eliminate either the y or the x's. So you can either choose to eliminate y, and then your first answer would be x, and then sub in to get your y, or you can eliminate x. So your first answer would be y, then sub that back in, and your second answer would be x. So in this scenario, I'm going to show you what it would look like if we made y, if we eliminate y. So what is a common multiple between 5 and 2? Well, that would be 10. So what do we need to do to the first equation to get 10y? Well, we need to multiply everything by 2. So we multiply that by 2. And what do we do to this to get negative 10y? We multiply by 5. So if we rewrite this, we have 3x times 2, so that's 6x. Positive 5y times 2, that's positive 10y, and 19 times 2 is 38. Then we have 4x times 5, that becomes 20x. We have negative 2y multiplied by 5, that's negative 10y. We have negative 18 multiplied by 5, and that's going to give negative 90. Now we can eliminate this 10. So like before, we subtracted, but that wouldn't work in this case. The reason being, if we had 10 minus minus 10, or two negatives become a positive, so we're going to have 21. But we want to get this to 0. So what we're going to do instead is add both fractions. So we have 10 add minus 10, that's just going to be 10 take away 10y, and that's going to give us 0y. So if we do that, we have this 20 plus 6, that's 26x. That just becomes 0. And we have 38 plus minus 90, so it's just going to be 38 take away 90, and that's minus 52. Now what we can do is we can divide both sides by 26, and that's just going to give us negative 2. So divide both sides by 26, we're going to get x is negative 2. And that's our first answer. Now we can sub that in to the first equation here. We can sub that in to that first equation to get our y value. So if we do that, we're going to end up with, well, 6 multiplied by x, so that's minus 2, and 10y is equal to 38. So therefore we have minus 12 add 10y is 38. And now if we take the minus 12 to the right side, we're going to have both sides, we're going to add 12. So we have 10y is 38 plus 12. So if we do that, we end up with 50. And therefore, divide both sides by 10, we end up with y is 5. So we have x is negative 2 and y is 5. X is negative 2 and y is 5. Move on to question number 3. So this question, what we can do is, again, we want to eliminate either the x or y. So what we can do here is, it's totally your choice. You can either eliminate x first or eliminate y, but I'm going to do x in this case. So what is a common multiple between 3 and 2? So we want to get these both in the same number, so then we can subtract. So we're going to end up, we're going to choose the number 6 as a common multiple. So if we do that, we're going to do, well, what do we have to do to 3x to get 6x? Well, that's just going to multiply by 2, and this is going to be multiplied by 3. So if we rewrite this, we have 3 times 2, that becomes 6x, 4y times 2, that becomes 8y, and 200 multiplied by 2, that's 400. This one's going to be again 6x, so notice how we have the same number here. Then we have 3 times 3, so that's 9y, and 144 multiplied by 3, that's going to give 432. So now we can subtract these fractions to get rid of this x term. So we want to eliminate that x term. So this becomes 0. Then 8 take away 9, that's minus y. That's 400 take away 432, that's negative 32. So therefore, y, if negative y is negative 32, y is going to be the opposite of this. That's going to be positive 32. So that's our first answer. Now we can sub this y back into the first equation, or you can choose this equation here if you want. You'd end up getting the same answer. So choose something that's easier. I'm going to go with the first one. So if we sub that back into here, so sub that back into there, what we're going to get is, well, we have 3x plus 4y, so 4, and we know y is 32, and that's equal to 200. So now we have 3x, well, 4 times 32, that's just going to give us 128. So we have plus 128, and that's 200. If we move that 128 to the right side, that's going to be, so take away 128 from both sides, we end up with 3x. 200 minus 128, that's going to give 72. And divide both sides by 3, we're going to end up with 24. So x being 24. So we have x is 24 and y is 32. So x is 24, y is 32. Question number 4. So question number 4 says 5x plus 2y is equal to 11, and 4x take away 3y is equal to 18. So again, the same process. We want to either get x or a y into the same number so we can eliminate them. So I'm gonna choose y in this scenario. So what is a common multiple between 2 and 3? Well, that would be 6. So I'm going to multiply this equation by 3 to get 6y, and this equation by 2 to get negative 6y. So if I rewrite this, we have 5x times 3, that becomes 15x. 2y times 3, that's 6y, and we have 11 times 3, that's 33. And this one is 4 times 2, so that's 8x. Negative 3y times 2, negative 6y. So notice here we have the same number, just a different sign. And 18 times 2, that is just 36. Now what we can do here is we're going to add both fractions. We're going to add both fractions. Reason being is because 6y plus take away 6y is just going to be 6 take away 6. So that's going to give us 0y. So we can eliminate this. So we have 15 take away 8. That's just going to be 7x. These cancel out, so we can cross them out. And 33 take away 36, that's going to equal minus 3. So our final answer is going to be x is negative 3 over 7. So that's our x value, negative 3 all over 7. What we can say over here is we can sub that back into now the first equation. So if we sub that back into the first equation, what we're going to have, so we can sub this one either into this equation or this equation here, or you could choose the second equation as well. It doesn't really matter. We just need to sub it in any one of these 4 equations here. We just need to sub it. So I guess the easiest one would be to sub it in here. So I'm going to draw an arrow, and if we sub it into this equation, we're going to get 4x, so 4 times negative 3 over 7. Negative 3y is equal to 18. And now we can work out what y is. So we're going to have negative 12 all over 7. Take away 3y is 18. 3y, well, this is negative 12 over 7. So if we take it to the right side, we're going to have plus 12 over 7. So 18 plus 12 over 7. And that's just going to give 138 divided by 7. If we divide both sides by 3, we're going to end up with 46 over 7. And those are our 2 answers. X is negative 3 over 7, and y is 46 over 7. So negative 3 over 7, and y is 46 over 7. So those are our 2 answers. Question number 5. So this says 4x minus 3y is equal to 11. 10x plus 2y is equal to negative 1. So what we can do here is I'm going to eliminate the x terms. So the common multiple I'm going to choose is 40. So I'm going to multiply the first equation by 10, sorry, and the second equation by 4. And I'm going to rewrite them. So we have 4x times 10, so that's 40x. Minus 3 times 10, that's negative 30y. And 11 times 10 is 110. And over here I have 10x times 4, so that's 40x. So we have the same number here. 2 times 4, that's just plus 8y. And minus 1 times 4, that's negative 4. Then we can subtract these equations to eliminate this x term. So those cancel out. We have negative 30, take away 8, so that's negative 38y. We have 110 take away 4, that's just 110, and then 2 negatives, sorry. So we have 2 negatives, so that's 110 minus 4, so that's going to be 110 plus 4. So we end up with 114. And over here we can divide both sides by negative 38. So we have 114 divided by minus 38. And that's just going to give negative 3. So y is equal to negative 3. And now we can sub it into any one of these equations. Easiest one here is going to be the second one. So I'm going to just sub it into this equation here. So we have 10x plus 2y. So plus 2 times minus 3 is equal to minus 1. So we have 10x, then 2 times minus 3, so that's negative 6 is equal to negative 1. If we take that negative 6 to the right-hand side, we have minus 1 plus 6, so that's just 5, and therefore x is 5 over 10, which is a half. So those are our 2 answers. X is a half and y is minus 3. So x is a half and y is minus 3. Question number 6. So here we have 3x plus 7y is 26 and 4x plus 5y is equal to 13. So what we can do, we can either again choose to eliminate x first or eliminate y. So I'm going to eliminate y in this case. So I need to find a common multiple between, sorry about that, I need to find a common multiple between 7 and 7 and 5. And that common multiple is 35. So I'm going to multiply, in order to get that 7 to 35, I'm going to multiply this by 5, and I'm going to multiply this one by 7. So if I rewrite that, we're going to have here, I can rewrite 3 times 5, that's just 15x. Then we have 7 times 5, that's just 35y. And 26 multiplied by 5, that's going to give 130. And over here we have 4x times 7, so that's 28x. Then 5y times 7, that's 35y. So notice here we have the same numbers, and we have 13. 13 multiplied by 7, that's going to give 91. So what we can do is eliminate this y term. So if we take away both equations, so these cancel out. We have 15 take away 28. So 15 minus 28, that's negative 13x. And we have 130 take away 91. So 130 take away 91, that's just 39. And if we divide both sides by negative 13, we're just going to get, our final answer is going to be x is minus 3. So over here we have x is minus 3, and we can sub it into any one of these 1, 2, or 3, or 4 equations. The easiest one I'm going to do is sub it back into the first one here. So we have, that's going to be 3 times minus 3 plus 7y is equal to 26. So now we can solve to find y. So we have minus 9 plus 7y is equal to 26. And if we take that minus 9 to the right side, that's going to be positive 9. So we add 9 both sides. So we have 26 plus 9, and that's just going to give 35. So therefore, divide both sides by 7, we end up with y is 5. So we have y is 5 and x is minus 3, and those are our final answers. So x is minus 3 and y is 5. And over here, this is the last question. So we have 6x take away 2y is 33, and we have 4x plus 3y is equal to positive 9. So pause the video and give this one a go, and then come back and check the answer to see if you got it right. Okay, so what we can do here is we want to get, again, the x and the y terms to be the same number. So either an x or either a y. So I'm going to choose the x term here to eliminate first. So what's a common multiple between 6 and 4? That would be 24. So I'm going to multiply this first one by 4 and the second one by 6. So that's going to look like 24x minus 2 times 4, that's negative 8y. And 33 times 4, that's just going to give me 132. And over here we have 4 times 6, so that's 24x. So we've got the same number here. Positive 3 times 6, that's plus 18y. And we have 9 times 6, that's 54. And we can eliminate that x term, so take away these two equations. So that x's cancel out. We have negative 8 minus plus 18y, so that's just minus 8 minus 18. So we have minus 8 minus 18, and that's going to give negative 26y. We have 132, take away 54, that's going to give 78. If we divide both sides by negative 26, we're going to end up getting minus 3. So y is minus 3. And if we sub that back into any one of these equations, the easiest one I'd say is to sub it back into the second equation. So we end up with 4x plus 3 times y, so that's minus 3 we worked out, and that's equal to 9. Then we have 4x, well, that becomes minus 9 is equal to 9, and add 9 both to sides, add 9 to each side, so we end up with 4x, or 9 plus 9 is 18, and therefore x is 18 all over 4. So that's our final answer. X is 18 over 4 and y is negative 3. X is 18 over 4 and y is negative 3. So that's simultaneous equations done. And I'll see you in the next video.